The night was split wide open by thunder, the kind that rolled through the bones of the earth and rattled the ribs of any living soul caught beneath its fury. A loner, worn down by years of silence and distance from other men, rode hard against the storm. The plains had always been merciless, but that night the heavens themselves seemed intent on washing the land clean. His horse labored in the mud, breath steaming like smoke, and still he pressed on. That was when he heard it soft at first, almost lost in the roar of rain. A cry. Not the cry of an animal, but a child. He reined in sharply, scanning the shadows, his heart hammering with disbelief. No sound like that belonged in the wild of midnight. Through the twisting branches of a fallen wagon, he found it an infant, wrapped in a soaked cloth, its tiny hands clutching at nothing, fighting against the storm. The mother was gone, the father nowhere to be seen. The wagon lay shattered, wheels broken, as if the storm itself had torn it from the earth. He stood there for a moment, torn between instinct and reason. He was no man's keeper, no savior of lost causes. Yet when he reached down and lifted the child, pressing it close against his chest, he felt something stir inside him, something he thought had long since died. The storm raged, but he carried the baby through the darkness until his cabin's faint outline appeared against the black horizon. The night had given him a burden, or perhaps a gift, and he did not yet know which. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving the land drenched and heavy with silence. The loner sat near the fire, the child wrapped in dry blankets, its breathing soft and steady. He had spent most of his life avoiding attachments, living where no man could demand anything from him. Yet now, he found himself watching over a life too fragile to protect itself. His thoughts wrestled in the dim light. He could ride to the nearest town, leave the child in another's care, and return to his solitude. But his hands betrayed him, holding the infant close as if letting go would tear something from him he did not want to lose. That was when he heard it, the low, distant rumble of hooves. He stepped outside, rifle in hand, eyes scanning the hills. At first, only a few riders appeared, then more, then dozens. Men and women on horseback, their faces solemn, their movements steady. They gathered in silence, their presence heavy as stone. He thought for a moment that they had come to accuse him to take the child from his arms, to call him a thief of what was not his. But when their eyes fell upon the baby, something passed through them. A whisper carried from one rider to the next until the air itself seemed alive with reverence. He realized then the child was not nameless. This was a life bound to their people, a symbol of something greater than blood alone. And his act of rescue had placed him at the heart of it. The loner stood on his porch, the child in his arms, as firelight began to glow across the hills. When the first rays of sun touched the earth, the gathering grew. 200 stood in silence outside his cabin. They did not brandish weapons, nor did they shout demands. Instead, their voices rose. A song low and deep rolled like thunder across the valley. It was a song of thanks, of memory, of a bond that words could not fully carry. The loner stood still, listening, the infant pressed close to his chest, and for the first time in years, he felt the weight of loneliness lift. The song was not for him alone, it was for the child, for the storm that had not claimed it, for the choice he had made when he could have turned away. An elder stepped forward, his voice steady and sure. He spoke of the storm, of the child, of the stranger who had not abandoned it. He told the loner that this act had bound him to their people, not by blood, but by honor. "This land will not fall while we stand," the elder said, and the vow was carried by every voice in the circle. The loner, once forgotten, now stood at the center of something far greater than himself. He had not sought belonging, yet belonging had found him. And as the morning song swelled against the rising sun, he knew his life would never again be lived in silence. This is not just a story of one storm or one man. It is a reminder that even the smallest act of courage can ripple outward, shaping lives far beyond our own. The loner saved a child, and in doing so, found himself no longer alone. Remember this: the choices we make in the quiet of our lives may one day echo like a song across the earth. Choose kindness, Choose courage, and let your actions become the stories that others will never forget.